Recreating this was so satisfying. Welcome to Sew With Anita, where I share tips that no one talks about that will elevate your sewing skills from a basic to a professional. So if you're just joining us for the first time, you're welcome. Hit on the like and subscribe button so you can get notified whenever I drop videos like this. In this video, I'll be teaching us how to achieve this box pleat flared skirt step by step for beginners, and I'll be giving us tips that we must avoid and things we must do in order for us to have a very neat finishing. This skirt comes with side pockets that are invisible, and it also comes with a zipper that was pleated in a way that it will be invisible. This is actually a two-piece like what you can see there, and I'm going to be dropping the tutorial on how to achieve the top very soon. So if you have not subscribed to my channel, please do, so that you could be the first person to be notified whenever I drop videos like this. Without further ado, let's dive into the tutorial. So to achieve this, I made use of 1 pack of Ankara fabric, and I'm going to take you through the formula that I used in achieving this pleats. So I'm going to be making use of my waist plus my zipper allowance, but this zipper allowance doesn't just cover the zip, it covers the amount of allowance we're going to be using to turn over the lining piece. So I'm going to multiply it by 3 and I'm going to divide it by 4. So my waist is about 28 inches. I'm going to add 1.5 inches, which should be sufficient. Then I'm going to multiply it by 3 and divide it by 4. Whatever I have there, I'm just going to write it down. So like I said, this allowance is actually meant to cover up for turning your lining and joining the sides, because we're going to be using our lining. So by the time you calculate it, it will be sufficient. Just make use of 1.5 because the 2 inches I used was actually still too much. So whatever I have there, I'm just going to use that to get the wideness of my fabric. So I got 22.5 inches and I'm going to place that on my Ankara fabric. So I've gone ahead to fold my Ankara fabric into 4 equal parts like this. So do you see what I did? I just folded it equally like that. So I'm going to be making use of the side that is not separated, the side that is on a fold. So just take note of the part you're going to be making use of, the side that is on a fold. We're going to take our measurements from that point. So from that angle, I'm just going to curve it like that. We need to get that 22.5 inches that we got from the formula. So we're going to curve it like this. Just look at what I'm doing. Do the same thing exactly. Try as much as possible to curve it so that you can get exactly 22.5 inches. That's the formula that I got. Then I'm going to mark it out, and then I'm going to measure what I have from this angle down to the point where I marked. So whatever I have there, I'm going to take it same from that angle like that. I'm trying to create a curve, so I'm just going to do it gradually from that same angle. I'm just going to take it round like that. So I'm kind of forming a cone. So just do the same thing, and by the time we are done doing it, when we measure it out, we should be getting the same 22.5 inches that we decided to get. If you didn't get it, just redo it and ensure that what you have is exactly 22.5 inches. So from that point, that cone we made, we're going to mark out our skirt length. So for mine, I wanted mine to be long, so I made use of 30 inches. You can make yours shorter if you want. So just take it from that point like that, the same 30 inches, and keep on going till you get to the end. Ensure that you're getting exactly 30 inches and the starting point is on the cone. So move it gently as you move your markings. So after doing that, just confirm what you have there and you can then go ahead and cut it out. So just take note of where I'm cutting it and the sides that I'm not cutting. So after doing that, we're just going to get the midpoint and we're going to notch it out like that. We're also going to get the other side and we're going to notch it out too. After doing that, we're then going to place this on our lining piece. Ensure that that point is also on a fold. The side that is on a fold on the Ankara is also on the fold on the lining piece, and we're going to trace it out like this. So just go ahead and use your chalk and trace out what you have there like you see me do. After doing that, we want our lining piece to be shorter than the Ankara fabric because we are going to be turning it over, so the lining has to be shorter than the Ankara fabric. So we're going to reduce about 1.5 inches. I made use of 1.5 inches. You can make use of 2 inches because by the time you reduce it, it's not really that's obvious, so you can make use of 2 inches, and then just look at the way I am coming out by 2 inches. Just do the same thing carefully like that. So after cutting that part out, we're going to cut out the top side too, and then we're going to notch it like we did earlier. Please, we are notching both sides. I'm sorry I couldn't show it on camera. So after that, we're going to remove the pins from the Ankara fabric, and we're going to separate it out. So we are going to remove one piece, and then the other one we're going to be using it as our back piece. So this one that we're going to be using as our back piece, we're just going to place it on a fold equally. So in case you can't get the equal fold, remember where we notched, so you just ensure that that point is equal like that. Then after you're done arranging it out, we're going to divide it into 2 because we're going to be adding our zip at that point. So there's a reason why we have to notch it, so please ensure that you notch it out so you can know the part that is your zipper side and the point you're going to put your pocket. So just go ahead and do the same thing for your lining piece too. So in order for us to turn over the lining, I'll be using just one piece to explain to you. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to place my lining on top of it like this, and I'm going to pin it. Remember that our Ankara is on the right side, so we're placing the lining on the right side of the Ankara fabric, and then we're going to pin it out like this. So I'm going to drop this little tip with you guys. Ensure that the part that you notched on the Ankara fabric is facing the side you notched on the lining piece. So remember that I said that there is a side that you will notch separately for the zipper, and there's a side that you will notch separately for the pocket. So ensure that the side you notch for the pocket on the lining piece is facing the side on the Ankara piece, and the side you notch for the zip on the lining piece is facing the side you notch for the Ankara piece, and you'll see that it's going to lap very well and be a lot equal than doing it the other way around or randomly. After pinning that, we're going to get our crinoline. This crinoline is actually meant to allow it to stand firmly without you adding any baskets to it. So we're going to get it. Please note that the crinoline, before you attach it to the fabric, you're going to add a sellotape to the edge points. That's after you've cut out the amount of crinoline you'll be needing. We're going to add a paper tape to the edge because at some point it gets really pointy and you don't want that to be choking you whenever you wear the dress. So just go ahead and stitch it down, a tiny stitch like that. Also take note that when you are cutting your crinoline, we are not cutting it exactly at the edge. We're leaving about 1 inch there because we're going to be turning it over with the lining, so we don't want it to be too pointy at that edge or give us a difficult time. So don't forget to add your maxing tape at the edge like that so it won't be pointy. So this is what we have after stitching it down. So take note of where I stitched down. It's just at the edge. I stitched down both the crinoline and the lining, and I was able to achieve this by pinning it firmly. So do you see, I've gone ahead to also iron it out because ironing your dress every step of the way makes it very neat. So I opened it up like that and I pressed it flat. You can also top stitch if you want, but I just went ahead to iron it out. So by the time I turned it over, it's just lapping perfectly on it. So do you see the way it is coming up? So this is what I wanted initially, and this is the reason why I had to shorten the lining so that it will come up, the main fabric will come up like this, and it will look very neat and professional. So the next thing I'm going to do is to pin it down firmly, but before I do that, I'm going to stitch it, open it up and stitch it on the lining piece like that. So I'm just going to give it a straight stitch at the edge like that. Ensure that you are opening it up very well so that you don't have ruffles there, and by the time we're done, it will then lap very well on the Ankara fabric and you'll be having a very neat turning without stitching on the main fabric. So after doing that, I've gone ahead to turn it over, and so do you see the way I pinned it down like that? So I'm just going to turn it over like this. I'm trying to align it well so that I can get the excess lining on it. So we need to do this before we can then join the sides of the lining and turn it over. So just go ahead and bring out the excess from it like that, and then after doing that, we're just going to cut it out like this. So you have to be very careful at this point. So yeah, this is what the stitch looks like. The one I stitched on the main and the lining, this is what it looks like. So do you see how straight it is? Then we're going to align it now, and we are going to pin it down at the wrong side. So just look at what I'm doing, and I'm going to then stitch it like that. So I'm stitching the sides, and then I'm going to turn it over from the waist side. So after doing that, we're going to turn it over and iron it out. So do you see how neat the outcome is? It looks so neat and so professional that it leaves non-fashion designers wondering, how did you turn it over without any single stitch coming out in front? So do you see what it looks like? So I'm going to do this for the other back piece and for the front piece too. After doing that, I'm going to cut out my pocket. So I've gone ahead to measure it out like this. So I'm just going to take you through what I took. So I folded the material into 4 equal parts like this. So don't mind this material that I'm using, it's just sufficient for what I want to do. So the part that is on a fold is what I'm going to start my measurements from. So I took about 10 to 11 inches for my pocket. So I took about 11 inches actually for my pocket. I brought the top at the downside, and then I took about 9 inches wideness. So it is 9 inches long. You can decide to make yours a square shape, or you can decide to make it a curve. It all depends on you. So after doing that, I've gone ahead to cut it out. So it's going to be separate. Everything is separated, and in total we have 4 pieces. So next, that point that we turned over, we're going to just top stitch at that point. So the waist side that we use in turning over, I first of all pinned it down, ensure that there is no fold, and then I top stitch at that point like that. So I just hope you understand what I'm saying. So next up, we're going to fix our pocket. To do that, we're going to place our back piece on the front piece, right side facing each other. Please note the points you are placing on it. Remember that we notch a side for the pocket, so I just hope you can still remember. So just place that point that you notch for the pocket on the side you're going to add the pocket, and leave the side you're going to add the zip to be facing each other. And then for our pocket piece, I've gone ahead to weave out the straight side. So I'll weave it from 1 inch inward, and we're going to weave it straight like that, and 1 inch outward. So we're going to do the same thing for the 4 pieces like that. This is just so that you can have a very neat finishing and it will not bring out hairs. So I've gone ahead, I'm going to fix it on it like this. I'm going to measure out about 1 inch or 1.5 inches. I'm coming down by 1.5 inches, and then I'm going to mark it out, and then I'm going to place the pocket piece right side facing each other inward like that, and I'm going to pin it down. I'll be stitching it down with 1 inch, and I'm going to do the same thing for the other piece too. So just go ahead and mark out the 1.5 inch and place it inwards, have right sides facing each other, and I'm going to pin it and stitch it with 1 inch. After doing that, I'll then stitch it round like this with 1 inch, then go round and stitch it down. So I just hope you understand, and I will do the same thing for the other sides too. So ensure that before you stitch it round, you've already stitched this side pocket with 1 inch like that. Then you can then go ahead and stitch it round just like I spoke earlier. So this is what I have after I was done stitching it down. Then I went ahead to weave the side that I didn't weave together so that it can come out looking neat. So do you see how professional it is looking? So the same thing I said, I stitched it round. If you stitch it together without going round, you would end up not having an open pocket, and it would not be nice at all. Next thing I'm going to do is to fix my zip. So at the zipper point, I'm going to just measure out my zip like that, and I'm going to mark a point 1 inches above my zip length. So do you see what I did there? Then I'm going to join it together and I'm going to stitch downwards like that. So for better understanding, I've gone ahead to stitch it downwards, and then this is what we have. And I'm going to place my zipper, I'm going to open it up, and then I'm going to place my zipper on it like this, and I'm going to fix it on one side. So just look at what I'm doing. If you need more explanation on how to fix your zip, I dropped a tutorial there on my channel, so please go ahead to check it out. So this is what we have after we're done fixing it. So the reason why it is looking neat like this is because of the joining we did downwards first. So the next thing we're going to do is to get our pleats. So we're just going to go ahead and mark out about 1 inches like that around it, so that we can use it as a guide in forming our pleats. You can make use of 1 inches, you can make use of 2 inches, it all depends on you. So in order for us to get the box pleat, we're going to get about 3 pieces and we're going to pleat it like this. Make sure that the 2 of them overlap like this, and then we're going to lap it down to rest down on the other side. So do you see what I'm doing? So just follow what I'm doing, look at what I'm doing, and you will get it right. Then we're going to get another 3 pieces and we're going to lap it like this, and we'll ensure that it laps on the opposite side like that. So just look at what I'm doing carefully, and then you're going to get it right when doing yours. So just do the same thing. We're going to keep doing it in the opposite directions round till we get to the end. So please take note that when you are pleating your pocket side and your zipper side, pleat it in a way that you end up covering up that point, so that it can look neat and professional. So when you get to your zipper side, just pleat it in a way that you would end up covering the zipper points. And also when you get to this mid center point, ensure that you do it in a way that your box pleat is at the center. So just take note of what I'm doing. When you get to you're going to get 3 pieces like that, and then when you get the middle of the third of the 3 piece, and then you overlap it like this and let it slip on the opposite directions. So then I've gone ahead to do this pleating on a bigger surface because that place was too tight. I won't get something well secured. So keep doing it, and by the time you get your circle, ensure that you make sure you measure it out so that it is the same measurement as your waist. So by the time you are done pleating it, ensure that you measure it out so that you will get the same measurement as your waist. So if it is not the same measurement, you're just going to make some amendments on your pleat to be suitable to what you want. After doing that, we're then going to iron the pleat out so that it will come out well and be a little bit neat. So for us to do that, we're going to align those pleats like that. Just look at what I'm doing carefully, and we're going to pin down both the top side and the bottom side, and we're going to do that for each and every one of them, and we're going to iron it out. So after ironing it out, this is what it looks like. This is what we have. So do you see that the pleats are all arranged, and I went ahead to pleat it in a way that the pocket is covered, so it won't be so obvious that there is a pocket there. So do you see that the pockets on both sides are hidden as much as possible so that there will be no folds or bulginess there? So do you see what it looks like? Then I also went ahead to pleat it in a way that the zipper is hidden too. So I pleated this and I brought out about 1/2 inch overlapping pleat at that zipper point. So the next thing I'm going to do is to cut out my band. So this band piece is the waistband measurement I have on my skirt. I'm going to measure it out and add extra 1 inch allowance for folding, and then the width is 2.5 inches on a fold. So I'm going to fold it right sides facing each other and stitch it like that with 1/2 of an inch at both sides. Then I'm going to attach it to my band like this. So I'm going to use 2 methods. Either I fold it by half of an inch inwards and iron it out, then place it inside of my waist and sew it, top stitch it. Or I first of all stitch this side, then I stitch the other part. So I'm going to be using the second method and I'm going to show you what it looks like. So after turning it, this is what I have. I went ahead to stitch the first one and I stitched it in front at the front side like this, and so I'm going to top stitch it on the front like this. So before I top stitch it, I'll just go ahead and pin it down first. So I'm going to show you what I have. So I've gone ahead to pin down that point that we have our fold. This is actually very important so that we will not have our band moving around and being unequal. So just go ahead and pin it down like this as straight as possible. Then you can now do your finishing stitch in front and fold it and stitch it down. So this is what I have after stitching it down. This is the importance of pinning it first before you stitch it down. Do you see how neat and straight it is looking? So this is one mistake that beginners make that you must avoid. After doing that, I'm just going to add my skirt hook to this so that it can have a better fitness on the waist. And this brings us to the end of this tutorial. If you enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't.